It's now time for On the Line with Cheryl Wilkerson. The conversation will range from local dialogue to international. This show is meant to enlighten, inform, and to inspire. On the Line with Cheryl Wilkerson begins now.
Hello and welcome to On the Line with Cheryl Wilkerson. You know, this is a program about people and places and things. And as usual, I think I have the best job in the world. And as usual, I'm excited about today's show. So today, Victoria Edie Butler, y'all check this out. America's first Black woman to be crowned a master blender and the great-great-granddaughter of Nathan Nearscreen. That was a Black man who taught Jack Daniels about whiskey distilling. She is my guest today. That's right. I'm so excited to be speaking to this amazing woman. And if you don't know the story of Uncle Nearest, today you will learn. And if you do know the story, today you're going to learn even more. Miss Victoria, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. I am thrilled to join you this morning.
Well, thank you for that. And I don't drink, but so many of my friends have been so very excited about Uncle Nearest that it led me to listen to an interview with Fawn Weaver. And Fawn Weaver, okay, this gives me chill bumps right now. Okay, a Black woman who is the founder of an independent whiskey brand, Uncle Nearest. I sit here and I just think about what she went through, the red tape that's in place, and then I'm sure there was some extra red tape put in place. But
absolutely,
I'm just thinking this gives me chill bumps that this woman did this and she came out on top, and everybody is talking about this whiskey. What can you say about that?
Oh my goodness, Fawn is the most driven, dedicated, authentic woman I have ever had the pleasure of knowing. What she has been able to accomplish along with our team is unheard of. It's just outstanding. Not only is she the first woman of color to own and run a whiskey company, we are the fastest growing American whiskey brand. We are the most awarded whiskey or bourbon.
Oh my gosh.
From 2019, 2020, and 2021, and we're on track to do it again in 2022. And of course, it starts with her leadership. She is, I just can't even explain her. She's just the most dynamic person I've ever known. I've never met anyone quite like Fawn Weaver.
Fawn Weaver, know that name, and also know the name Victoria Edie Butler. So what is your background? Because you are the first person ever, 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 to win back-to-back Master Blender of the Year. So before we find out what a Master Blender is, give us your background. You grew up Master Blendering or something like that?
No, ma'am, I did not. My background for almost 31 years, just days shy of 31 years, was in law enforcement. For the majority of my 31 tenure, I led and supervised a team of criminal and forensic analysts.
My goodness.
So I've only been blending since 2019.
That is amazing. So when you decided to leave your old occupation, you knew you were going to come do this, or you were just going to retire?
Yeah,
or what was the plan?
I retired, and as I was reaching the decision to retire, of course, I already knew Fawn and her husband, Keith, and she and I had a conversation about me joining the team. And so I retired on a Thursday and went to work on a Monday. And when I joined the team, wasn't with the thought of being the master blender. I came in a administrative role. Oh. Before the first bottle of whiskey even hit the shelf, Fawn had established a foundation, the Nearscreen Foundation, and that foundation was put into place to support all of Nearscreen's descendants moving forward with their college education. The foundation pays for tuition, books, all college fees, everything related to classwork. And so my initial major responsibility was as director of administration for the Nearest Green Foundation.
Miss Victoria, will you tell us more about Nearest Green, please?
Yes, Nearest Green is the first known African American master distiller. He was born, we think, around 1820, somewhere in Maryland. And at some point, he was transported to Lynchburg, Tennessee. We don't know if he was born into slavery or if he was sold, into slavery. But we do know by the time he reached Lynchburg that he was a slave. And he worked on a farm for a man named Dan Call. Dan Call was a preacher, but he was also selling whiskey.
Oh, my goodness.
Green. Yeah.
Okay, so wait a minute. So Dan Call was a preacher, but he enslaved other people and he was selling whiskey.
Now, I don't know. We don't know for sure if he was a slave owner or if he rented slaves from someone else. But Nearest was a slave that worked for Dan Call.
Okay.
Know that. And made the whiskey for him. And at the time, how the district was set up then, it was in Lincoln County. And while on the farm for Dan Call, he met a young boy named Jack Daniel. And Jack Daniel came to the Dan Call farm as a chore boy. Most people probably think that Jack Daniel came from privileged background, but that is not the case.
Okay.
His mom died when he was a young boy. He was just months old when he lost his mother, and then his dad at some point remarried, and when he was about 7 or 8 years old, he came to live on the Dan Call farm, and that is where he met Nearest Green. He was a curious lad, evidently, because the story goes that he kept asking Dan Call what was going on in the distance from the house. And that is where my great-great-grandfather, Nearest Green, was making whiskey. And I can just imagine that there was a lot of smoke. There were mules. Nearest loved music. I'm sure there was music going on. And so this young boy wanted to know what was going on. And finally, Dan Call gives in, takes him to meet Nearest Green. He introduces Jack to Nearest. And he says that Nearest Green is the best whiskey maker around. Now, that can be read in Jack Daniel's biography.
Okay.
And so, soon thereafter, Nearest takes Jack under his wing, teaches him all he knows about distilling whiskey. They perfect what is known as the Lincoln County process, and that is the process of filtering whiskey through sugar maple charcoal, the process that sets Tennessee whiskey apart from any other spirit. In 2013, the governor of Tennessee signed into law any whiskey designed to be Tennessee whiskey must meet all the qualifications and characteristics for bourbon, but it also has to be made in Tennessee, and it must adhere to the Lincoln County process.
Wow.
So Nearest Green not only taught a young Jack Daniel how to make whiskey, but because of him perfecting the Lincoln County process, he made history of his own, making him the godfather of Tennessee whiskey.
Oh, that is a story.
Yes. So as Jack gets older, he becomes the salesman for Dan Call. He's taking the whiskey to deliver it to people all around, including the soldiers. And when Dan Call decided to get out of the whiskey business, Jack Daniel being a young man by now, he bought the distillery himself.
Mm-hmm.
and he named it after him. And he asked his good friend and mentor, Nearest Green, to stay on and be his master distiller. And under the Jack Daniel brand, Nearest Green became the first known African American master distiller.
And that was your
Now,
great great grandfather.
yes, his granddaughter, Annie Bell Green Edie, is my grandmother. I am a fifth generation descendant.
It just gives me goosebumps. Can you please explain to me what a master blender is?
My job as a master blender is to ensure that all the blends of premium whiskey go through me. Um, what when I started out was the 84 small batch,
Mm-hmm.
and the process kind of like cooking. You take a little bit of whiskey from this barrel and a little bit from that barrel, and you blend them together and decide, do I need to put a little bit more from this barrel or a little bit less from that barrel? But barrels are blended together, deliver the final product of what goes in the bottle, and that is what I do.
And in anticipation of this interview, I have been so excited telling everybody I was going to talk to you. So a friend of mine explained it to me. He's like a brainiac. He explained this to me on Sunday. He was explaining to me about the process of when you go through many barrels or when you just do the single barrel. Is that making sense?
Yeah, well, the single barrel is just that. It's just one barrel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is not blended. We have we are working really on the process of bringing a new single barrel out, hopefully maybe later this year.
Okay.
And that is barrel proof whiskey that has not had any water added to it. We actually have a blended barrel proof whiskey called the Master Blend Edition. And that was birthed out of me blending the 1884 small batch. And I was finding these beautiful, unique barrels of whiskey that I thought were significant enough to stand on their own without being reduced down with any water. So barrels are still blended together,
Mm-hmm.
but they are from barrel to bottle, no water added. And that is our Master Blend Edition.
And I'm reading about you doing this process, and I read where you say that you do not take sips of water in between when you're going
I do not.
Okay. And that is
I do not.
because Go ahead.
Well, when I am blending, I am, well, even when I'm not blending, I'm very protective of my palate now that I have got a niche for this, a passion for this. And so I'm very protective of my palate. And so when I'm blending, for me, it's just my process. Others don't do it this way necessarily. I think most didn't do what I started out doing. Some are doing it now.
Yes.
And that is blending at barrel proof. Then it down. I don't eat or drink before I blend. I don't drink water in between tasting each barrel, and I always taste the whiskey at barrel proof, and then reduce it down. Now, granted, there is very little water in any of our whiskey. We have high proof whiskey. The 1884 small batch is 93 proof, and then our 1856 is 100 proof. So we don't start out real high proof and then reduce it down with a lot of water.
Mm-hmm.
We want the consumer to enjoy the beauty, the full essence of whiskey that we are producing. So 93 proof is our lowest.
Were you surprised, or was Miss Fawn surprised by the reaction that you all received from the Black community?
Absolutely not. Not surprised at all.
Did you feel the
It is our
love?
hope. Absolutely, and still do.
Mm-hmm.
5 years later, we still do. We would not be where we are without all of our whiskey family, not just the Black community. But I do think and believe that the Black community has embraced us because it's not just about my family, not just about the Green family, but this represents all Black people. As you know, we are innovators and creators of a lot of things that have gone unrecognized for decades.
Mm-hmm.
And with the Uncle Nearest Premium Whiskey, it's an opportunity for us to embrace and for others to acknowledge activity, who we are, our base.
Mm-hmm.
We are. And so the Black community, the African American community as a whole have been wonderful. And I am so grateful for all of it.
If you're just joining us today, I'm talking to Victoria Edie Butler. She is a winner of, how do I say this? She has won Master Blender back to back. She is just incredible. Her palate, I think, needs to be insured. She's also the great-great-granddaughter of Nathan Nearest Green. And hopefully you know this story about Uncle Nearest and this whiskey, this independent whiskey brand that has taken America by storm. So how did you all survive during the pandemic? What was the strategy there?
We just found other ways to remain out there. One of the things that I am really proud of is that we didn't, our primary focus when the pandemic happened, it wasn't about whiskey. It was about our community.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Fawn realized that the first responders, those who were tasked to take care of those who were getting sick, our first line people, when she learned that they were having difficulty getting PPE, she jumped into action and started ordering PPE at a much higher price than others probably would have. And we turned our welcome center into a shipping station.
Wow.
And we sent out thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces of PPE, even to those who were started reaching into us via email or reaching into Fawn on Instagram. Everyone that reached in, we responded and sent them what they needed in hopes of helping them to stay safe. So that is one of the things that I remain really proud of,
Mm-hmm.
that during a time of need, we tried to be a help, and it had nothing at all to do with whiskey.
Can you tell us?
We put up billboards in areas of greater concern for African American people. We supplied all of our accounts with masks and hand sanitizer, whether you were going into a liquor store to purchase Uncle Nearest or not. We wanted to ensure that people were being as safe as possible.
Can you tell us more about the Nearest Green Foundation? That sounds so exciting.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. As you know, Nearest was a slave. He likely, we know he didn't have the opportunity for any, formal education. And so Fawn was concerned about his descendants and got really involved with the family right from the beginning, And so one of the things that she thought would be a benefit, a help to the family, was establishing the foundation to support Nearest's college-age descendants who have a desire for higher education. And so that foundation was put into place in 2017, prior to the whiskey going on the shelf. And we paid for all Nearest Green's descendants who have a desire to continue their education at any accredited university or college that they desire. And we will pay for tuition, books, fees related to classwork. and tutoring. Even we offer tutoring if needed. And so far, not one of our students have needed tutoring, but it is there if they need it. And their only obligation is to be a good steward of what they have received, and that is to maintain the 3.0. And if they want to get their bachelor's, or if they want to get their doctorate, we will support that.
Can you guesstimate, or do you know the number of people, descendants, that have taken you up on this offer?
I think so far we've had 12, maybe 14. We've had 2 to graduate with their master's, one preparing for law school. So they are doing quite well, and I'm really, really proud of what they're doing. And I love that I am still the director of administration over the foundation.
You are?
I am. So I have contact with my family, with the younger generation, and I'm here for them to support them. If they want to call and talk to me, and hopefully I can give them sound advice and good guidance when they have questions. And I just love the fact that I can continue in that role while also serving as the master blender for our company.
If I want to make a road trip to come find out more about you all, do you have tours? Is there a building I can go?
Yes.
Teach me. Tell me.
We have the most beautiful distillery that sits on 323 acres in Shelbyville, Tennessee. It's about 50 miles outside of Nashville. We offer tours Thursday through Sunday, and we welcome in folks from all over the country every week. It is beautiful, beautiful facility to visit. We have a welcome center that's full of all kinds of swag and all kinds of trinkets that you can take home with you. Our tour consists of visiting the world's first non-alcoholic speakeasy on the Near Screen
Miss
property.
Victoria, that's what I'm talking about right
You
there.
gotta come. It's full of history.
Okay.
We honor the Women's Suffrage March, the women's right to vote. It's just full of rich history. Everything that you can think of in regards to Tennessee, from the Tennessee Walking Horse to cotton candy to, of course, Near Screen. So when Fawn launched this, was to ensure that Near Screen's legacy would never go missing again, that his legacy would be cemented in history.
Mm-hmm.
And so our team and the team at the distillery go about our business every day to make sure that happens.
You make it sound easy, but it sounds like so many different moving parts, and you all have put them together, and it sounds like it's easy, but I'm sure it's not behind the scenes, but it's exciting to hear this.
A whole lot of work, but it's for me and for our sales team and the team at the distillery as well. It really is a labor of love. Fawn has managed to put together a team that is totally dedicated to ensuring that Nearest's legacy is cemented. When people are out talking about those icons in the spirits industry like Jack Daniel and George Dickel and Jim Beam, those people who are recognizable already, who have been, their brands have been around for hundreds of years. Make sure that Near Screen is included in those conversations, because he is the person who helped perfect that Lincoln County process that sets Tennessee whiskey apart from any other brand. So he should be included in that,
Absolutely.
And so our job every day is to do that. We just continue to share the story, to pour this beautiful whiskey that we have created, to welcome in visitors at what the press has dubbed the Malt Disney of distillery tours. We are building out literally the longest bar in the world at the Nearest Spring Distillery.
How cool is that? May I ask you this?
So it is wonderful.
We only have a few minutes left, but first, what advice do you have for someone out there listening that's inspired by your story specifically and says, I'd like to understand more about being a master blender. That might be in my future. What would you tell them in the few minutes we have left?
Well, the one thing for me that I always share is that oftentimes fear holds us back. It may be someone listening who thinks that they can't do it, or I've never done anything like that before. Granted, my story is a little different. I truly believe that whiskey is in my blood. I have the lineage from my very talented great-great-grandfather. And so my story is a little bit different. But putting that aside, I think fear can hold people back. So I encourage anyone who is listening that if they are desiring a change in direction, whether it be jumping into the spirits industry or going into another direction in their career, that you put fear aside.
Put fear aside.
You have to be a little bit fearless and a whole lot confident. You've got to let your confidence rise to the top and just be determined that this is what I'm going to do, and be totally dedicated to it. You can't have your toe in one thing and your toe in another thing. If you're going to be in it, you've got to be in it both feet and full heart to make it work.
And you have won Master Blender back to back. When will we know?
I have.
Well, when do we know that you've done the Triple Pete thing? When will that be announced?
That happens. It'll be next January.
Okay,
January. But I have actually won Master Blender of the Year 4 times over.
Oh my
gosh!
But
back to back by Whiskey Magazine, the Icons of Whiskey. That is like the Grammys for our industry.
Yes.
And it has never been done before. And I was the first person of color to ever be recognized when I won in 2021. So I'm really proud of that. And
you should be.
And for me, you know, every time I win an award, every time that what I'm doing is highlighted, it just shines a light on my great-great-grandfather and his accomplishments. Because for us at Nearest Green, for Uncle Nearest Premium Whiskey, that is what it's all about for us, is Nearest Green.
Well, the ancestors are proud. I can tell you that. Also, before we leave, I need you to tell the listening audience, can you be followed on social media? Do you have any social media handles that you want to throw out today? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, always follow Uncle Nearest Premium Whiskey on Instagram and Facebook. And the Awesome Fawn Weaver, she posts a lot. And then on my page as well, those things that I'm doing, the upcoming things that I'm doing, like on this Saturday, I will be at a block party at Lack Wine and Spirits in Washington, D.C.
Oh.
It is the first block party that I've ever done, and I think it is the first for our company. So that's exciting. It'll be a fun day of sharing the story, pouring the whiskey. We'll have music and dancing and food. So I'm excited. My good friend, Jackie Summers, who is the owner and creator of Cheryl Liqueur, which is a beautiful hibiscus liqueur. He will be there with me, and we'll just be having a good time. So all of those things are usually posted on my page as well under Victoria Edie Butler. Okay. On Instagram, but always under the Uncle Nearest page.
Victoria Edie Butler, crowned back-to-back Master Blender and the great-great-granddaughter of Nathan Nearest Green. Please understand how important this story is. Please do not forget the story. Please support whenever you can. And I just want to say thank you so much, Miss Victoria. Please receive the many thanks that I'm sending your way for joining me today. And all I can say is thank you, and I love you, and I'm coming to do that tour, and I'm coming to see that bar, and I'm coming to go to that non-alcoholic speakeasy, okay?
Yes, yes. It has been my pleasure, and I look forward to welcoming you and all the listeners to the Near Spring Distillery in Shelbyville, Tennessee.
There you have it. You all, thank you for listening on this Sunday afternoon, or this Sunday morning, I should say. Thank you so much. Next week, I'll be coming back with another great story. That's what we do right here on the line. I'm Cheryl Wilkerson. Love you so very much. Take care, you all. Bye-bye.